People, deluded, I'm back again. Now, obviously, yesterday we lost to Chelsea. Positives to take. Facts is we lost. Fact is game management needs to improve. And I believe, well, for me anyways, it's become evident, or if we didn't already know, especially with how it looks like how Arteta wants to play, the following for me, people. We need a central midfielder that is tenacious, that doesn't... Obviously, I would like someone who can... Primary job is to break down play. Anything else they can do is a bonus. But equally, if we can find someone box-to-box who's switched on defensively, it's all a bonus. But we evidently need one. We need someone to partner... Well, there's obviously a case to sign two sorts of central midfielders. If you can get someone who's combative but able to play progressive passes and help us build, then that's a bonus. But in short, between now and the summer, we need to get in someone whose skills is probably building, if we're not going to get that out of Guendouzi or our players already here. And we need someone who can break down play. So 1 to 2 midfielders. I believe mainly for me to partner Torreira, because it's become evident like we're not tenacious enough. When players get tired, it's just one man versus the world. In fact, even Torreira gets caught high up the field himself. Like for the second goal, he weren't to blame, but the whole team, including him, is caught high up the field. The first goal, it's Leno's fault, because what's Leno doing? But Torreira loses his man. Whether he's fouled or not, he loses his man. Against Bournemouth, David Luiz and Torreira failed to trap the runner of Gosling. I'm only using Torreira because the most recent examples in my head, but these sort of not following runners, not being switched on, you can't expect a player to always be at. And we need, as a team, we need to improve that. But we need someone who's a bit more switched on in that regards. And I do believe we just need someone to partner Torreira. And if Torreira, God forbid, if he gets a long-term injury, what happens to our midfield, especially with Xhaka's stuff now, with what you're hearing about Xhaka. In fact, I've even seen today that the latest is Hertha Berlin are going to sign him on loan with an option to buy for 30 million euros. How true that is, I don't know. But it's become evident that we need that sort of midfielder. It's become evident that we probably need to either sign players who can play the way Arteta wants to play, and that they're the same tenacity and running from the 1st to the 90th. Obviously, players are human, they tire, but it's about game management in which we need to improve. But I think it's evident that some of these players are not able to... obviously, we'll give them a bye because they're learning to press consistently for 90 minutes, and they did do it in the first half. On top of all the problems, we looked out of gas in the second. So maybe as we get used to the fitness regimes and we look to do things to help us able to, to keep them performance levels up over 90 minutes, things will change. But for me, I don't really have many players in that side that is able to do that. And I think we're going to need a couple in who can do that, to be fair. And it can be coached, because I'm pretty sure, again, Liverpool's team looks almost unrecognisable since when Klopp walked in, but I'm pretty sure there was, like Henderson. Henderson's always been a good runner, but I'm sure Henderson might have struggled personally if you was to ask him, but he adapted to it together with Klopp's training, and I'm sure there's other players the same can be said, people. So it can be trained, it can be learned, but when I look at, I like Guendouzi, but do I think Guendouzi's ever going to be able to do that? Xhaka's been informed, but is Xhaka ever going to be that dynamic enough, whether he's going to be here or not? I look around at the whole team. I don't really see Lacazette. Is he able to do that for 90 minutes if he plays? I think Aubameyang is, but Aubameyang's going to be knackered. If you're doing this week in, week out, especially from the flanks like he's doing, you're going to be knackered. So there's got to be changes, mainly for our young players as well. You saw them knackered in the second half, especially for the second goal. So I think that's something we're going to need to address. Obviously, our game management needs to improve, especially when it comes to pressing and we're fighting in games, because they should be confident against Chelsea. Second half, we was a bit nervous, but first half, both teams showed in that game that they can create chances. So we should have. But we should have been a bit smarter at 1-1, considered the context. Why was everybody flying forward? Saka's out of position. Saka looks injured, and it's naive. It's not a criticism really. It's youthful naivety. He's caught up the field. He looks injured and he's unable to get back. Guendouzi's there, and this is what annoys me about Guendouzi when he does these things. He's putting we're running in the defensive phase. He's putting his hands up like to say someone else should be here. That's you and Torreira, bro. You lot shouldn't be high up the field. Even Joe. I know Joe is playing in that Ozil role and he needs to get further forward, but I didn't really see what he was trying to bring to the table against Chelsea, or at least what you was told by the manager. It didn't look like you did it. And even him, why is all three midfielders are flying forward? It's about being smarter collectively. Arteta has to teach that, but it's about these players recognising these situations and thinking, oh, yo, we're flying forward. Chelsea got Willian, Tammy, and Mason Mount or whoever, they're pretty fast on the counter-attack. We're going to be outnumbered. Let me drop off. Let me not go forward as much. Maitland-Niles as well, we had a good game. He was forward. This is the naivety we've got to get out of the game, and it's about, like Arteta said, it's about learning from past situations. There's positives to take from Chelsea, not so many positives based on how the game ended, but we can learn from that. So if this same situation happens against United, players think, okay, let me drop off. It's 1-1. We don't deserve to share the points with Chelsea, but a point's not the baddest of points. If a goal scoring opportunity comes, then I'll do my thing, but let's not force it. We got caught trying to force it probably, and that's why we lost. So clearly the game management needs to evidently improve, people. Evidently, we need to cut out the individual mistakes. How much of that? Leno is a repeat offender in that he's made 7 or 8 of these since the start of last season. If it's not that, there's been times where he saves it and he taps it in. I don't think Leno's perfect. He's a good shot stopper. He's been one of the best players this season from us, so let's allow him. But we've got to get these individual mistakes out of the team. I don't think you can... how much Arteta can coach these things out, I'm not too sure, because a lot of for the young players it's cool, but for the others, they're experienced individuals. I personally cannot see how you keep making these same mistakes. Like, how much can he train Mustafi? Now, I'm not going to say Mavropanos should have come on instead of Mustafi, because I don't wholeheartedly believe that. Mustafi is the most experienced of the two, so that's probably why he lent to him. He lent, if that's even a word, he lent to him. But Mustafi is Mustafi. It doesn't matter how many opportunities he gets, he's going to show you he's not a good defender. He showed it. He had some good games in dead rubber games when he was played under Emre. The minute a game meant something against Liverpool, you saw him. He came on against Chelsea, and he weren't the reason we lost. He made some big challenges and stuff, but the second goal, he's not tight enough to Tammy Abraham. He's forever backing up. He's not aware of situations, and I do think his nervousness and just calamity, it rubs off on the other players and things like that. Really and truly, he's not solely to blame, but what I mean is individuals like that, you can't coach them. So it's the uncoachable players, we need to just really clip them, nip them in the bud, and get rid of them, people. There's really not much more to say on that front. I think I've lost some of my notes. I've got a lot of information to share, and I've lost them, people. 1 second. I do, obviously, like I said as well, we need to take the same confidence we had. Oh, where is it, man? I'm so sorry, people. I don't know what's happened. Yeah, like I said, in relation to chance creation, one positive is that I think because Arsenal fans were so refreshed with seeing our team just get the ball forward, we're moving. Our perception is changing from the reality. The reality is, listen, we've made progress. We was not doing anything under Emery, so now we're having possession. It's more so not taking chances or not really testing the keepers when we didn't have no intention to do that before. So we've moved in the right direction. But now it's about learning from that, actually making Kepa make. How many saves did Kepa really have to make? How many times did you say Kepa in that game was really under pressure? He weren't really. If I'm harsh, it was similar to Emre in that we had to score from a set piece. I'm not using that as a criticism of the coach or Arsenal. I'm just using it to say we need to start taking chance. We need to start having quality of chances. You don't buy a raffle ticket, you don't score. And obviously, the players collectively, everybody needs to be on finishing duty, because the one opportunities we did have, we're not finishing our dinner, really and truly. So there's that. Obviously, the positives is there was great an emphasis on pressing, and for me, coordinated pressing, not just. Let me remove all of this, people. Like, not just pressing for the sake of it, because that's ineffective, people. Think about it logically. Pressing for the sake of it is ineffective. Like, what? There's no point one man just pressing everything, because they'll pass around him. He will actually, I'm not going to do it to scale, but pressing by one man and vacating positions can actually harm your team. Because him pressing 1v1, it could be opening up other areas. So one man pressing isn't going to help anything, people. It isn't. That's what's happened. It used to happen under Emery, where one man is pressing, one man might back it, but it's half-hearted. What I saw is proper pressing, like I've already said in another vid. Proper pressing. Ozil was joining as a 4, then we probably had a 2 at times, and it did become a 4-4-2 out of possession. But I liked how when it came to pressing, this was more or less our shape, including the defenders. We're pressing like that. Obviously, from a defensive point of view, we went like this. with Ozil and Aubameyang, well, Ozil and Lacazette, Aubameyang out there, and Ozil would drop in. So they're the benefits. We're pressing together as a team, or there was a greater emphasis on that, or that we're actually having an appreciation. Because when you press together, it makes sense. There's no point one man pressing. It's not going to help anybody. So that's the positives. Obviously, we looked a bit better in the transition. Second half, we couldn't get out of our goal, out of our own area. So again, it comes down to game management, I guess. The energy levels were there, the commitment levels were there, and I think we looked better defensively in terms of the shape. Like Nelson was very narrow to from the right hand side as well. It looks like something we've worked on, but it's about moving forward with these things, people. It's literally about moving forward with such. If we look at the statistics, Arsenal have lost 4 consecutive home games in all competitions for the first time since 1959, which was in December that year. Chelsea are the first team to win 5 away Premier League games against Arsenal at the Emirates Stadium. Since his debut in February 2018, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has scored 45 Premier League goals, 20 more than any other Arsenal player in that time. Bernd Leno has made more errors leading to goals than any other Premier League player since August 2018, which is 7. Only Sterling and Vardy have scored more away Premier League goals than Tammy Abraham this season. Tammy Abraham has 8, Sterling and Vardy have 9. Chelsea became the first team to come from behind at halftime to win away at Arsenal in a league game since Spurs in November 2010. There were 9 yellow cards in this match, the most in a Premier League game since the most in a Premier League game this season, and the most since February, when there were 9 in the Bournemouth game against Wolves. After taking the lead in the 13th minute, Arsenal had just 3 shots and no more on target. So again, I've said we're creating chances, we're better in possession. But like I just said, when we remove our perception from the reality, we need to not only create more chances, but actually take them. Do you get what I'm saying, people? And if you looked at the passes made from both teams at halftime, and statistically the possession, which I spoke about in previous games, yeah, it was great at 1-0 at halftime. But if you're Chelsea, you're sitting there with all of this, with the shots I've just said in the previous points, and it's giving you confidence. And it's about our team recognising that we need to keep the same energy levels up, or we need to manage the game a bit better. Because like I was tweeting, it was an important half-time team talk, not just because of Chelsea were playing atrocious, but Arsenal, you could say in many ways, I won't say it's a bad thing that we was ahead, because it wasn't, but we might not have been prepared for that and known how to go, the players not knowing how to go about it. So again, it ties back in specifically to game management. In relation to recruitment, Arteta has said, in the next few days, we will discuss this internally where we can improve the squad. Because at the moment, we have a lot of injuries, like I said. Some of them might be long-term as well. So we have to adapt the plan. Now, Chambers, touching wood, praying for the best, expecting the worst. He's probably going to be out for a substantial period. And he joins, obviously, Tierney's another long-term absentee. And then you've got the Holdings, the Bellerins, even Mavropanos, Kolasinac. All these players that have been getting these niggling injuries, and it's really been harming them and whatnot, people. In relation to specifically Callum Chambers, he said the doctors are assessing him. The first feeling he got, it wasn't very positive. When asked about Xhaka, he said he played at Bournemouth. He played very well. He was very committed. He played a really good game. After the game, he started to feel ill. He had a temperature and he wasn't feeling really good. The last 2 days, he's been in bed. That's why he's not been selected. When pressed on whether he wants him to leave, he said, I hope not. I'm not too sure if there's any truth in that illness, but we'll take his word for it. In relation to Lombard in the director's box seat, which a lot of you saw, and I'm happy for that, to be fair. Lombard didn't look too pleased with it, but obviously when you're looking at games from a different perception of the ground, you might see different things. How many times have you gone to the game, or your mates told you he's at the Arsenal game or whatever game you support, and he might be sitting in the North Bank, you might be sitting there, but you've seen 2 completely different games? And that's why I love football. When I say opinions are neither right nor wrong, they're just subjective, because how you see things, because of the unconscious and biases you have and where you might be sitting, is completely different to me. And obviously, from how the players and Arteta and whatnot being at the base and the trenches level saw it, could be completely different from Lombard. Lombard might have picked up on one of our players not necessarily being switched on in terms of positioning, or they might be getting too narrow or things like that. So today I'm hoping that information is relayed. The boys obviously watch the game for the positives and negatives against Chelsea and learn from these things, because it was a better performance than I expected, but it's about learning from these things. I don't want to obviously we're not going to turn it around. So there's some of the same mistakes are going to persist all season. But I want to stop seeing certain things in the immediate reaction in relation to the United game. Like that second goal, I don't want to see everybody flying forward again, because United have a good team on the counter attack. They will harm you. Sadly, when asked on whether we're in a top 4 battle or a relegation battle, he said, "I don't know. I have to go day by day and step by step. If we had got the result that we wanted, we'd be talking about something different. I don't want to make any different predictions." Now, Arteta, I don't think we'd be necessarily speaking about something different, because not much would change, but I fully agree with you. If we won, the questions and the tone would obviously be different. But at the same time, footballs are not about ifs and buts. We can say if Henry turned up in the final in 2006, we would have done this. If this ref didn't do that, Arsenal would be Champions League winners. Fair enough, Henry got an assist. Obviously, I'm just getting that at the OG. But can't deal with ifs. The facts are we didn't win that game. The fact, we cannot come the 90th minute. The only things that matter are the facts. We can say if Arsenal took chances against Chelsea, if we did this, if we did that, if Jorginho got sent off. A lot of these things are valid. But the facts are we lost. And even with these same things we can point at, can we truthfully sit here and say there aren't things we could have immediately done wrong to change this result? Potentially we can. He obviously, in relation to Leno, he kind of backed Leno. And it's nice to see the boys commenting on Leno's Instagram, giving him support. He said as well on whether we could have pressed more than something related to the organisation. Physically, it was tough to maintain the level Chelsea play at the moment. We are asking them to do something different, to play at a different pace, much more aggressive, and at that moment they suffered. We have had a lot of injuries. We're putting demands on young players. I don't think they didn't want to do it or that they were scared. I just think it was too physical for them in the end. And it did look like our batteries were running on E. It looked like we needed new petrol. It is what it is, people. But there were some benefits. The more we keep doing this, the more we'll learn and the better we should get at this, or I hope so. And if we're not, players got to get clipped, really. And truly with you. He was obviously asked in relation to Jorginho on the pitch. I'm not going to go into that. He said more or less it's clear for him. He said on whether he blames his team or the ref. Obviously the ref did change the game, but he said, "I blame my team. We are responsible for everything we did on that football pitch. The decisions we didn't get right, obviously the other things we cannot control or change them now." And that's true. We cannot change these things. We cannot you cannot factor in pre-game that the ref is going to have an atrocious game like he did, people. But I will say this, like I just said, and Arteta's more or less said the same thing. Yeah, we can have these debates about the ref and criticise him, and rightly so. But if you remove them or hang that up for a sec and isolate that, can you say Arsenal did everything they could to necessarily deserve to win beyond that? No, because Chelsea were given a foothold in that game. We didn't create quality chances to test Kepa. There's many things we could have done better. And we aren't going to learn anything if we're going into training today just blaming the ref. We're not going to learn anything. It is what it is. The refs are twats in the Premier League, especially against Arsenal. It is what it is. Jorginho should have been off, but it is what it is. How Jorginho didn't get a second yellow, how Zuma went the whole game without getting a yellow, I don't know, but fair play. He also said, if we was naive for the Chelsea winner, he said, "I think we had the structure really well. We had more numbers than the opponent and were completely in control. I think it's a 5 against 3 situation. It's a structure we need to control. We need to control those sorts of situations. Then we just step back. They are really good in transitions." It's true. What can you say about that? And he said, he was asked in relation to if we lack concentration, and he said, "I don't think it's a lack of concentration. We're 1-0 up, pretty comfortable, even if we were defending much deeper than I like. I cannot think about any clear chances for Chelsea before that. The decision making happens, and it will happen again for sure. But when it happens against this type of opposition, you get punished. So again, you can't make these mistakes in the Premier League, but more so in these games, and you need to learn from mistakes." We were defending way too deep in that second half. We had 11 men behind the ball. We had defending. Okay, there's games like that you have to defend, but we had no outlet. We had no focal point. When we was clearing the ball, it's coming straight back onto us, and that kind of led to the free kick Lacazette gave away for the goal. I might be going off topic, but what I liked as well from Arteta is that you could see the little segments telling Saka get up when he's, when the players look dejected and stuff. And like I said, his man management is on another level, and the players will remember these tough moments, especially the young players. Nelson's going to remember how he felt against Bournemouth, what Arteta did for him, and his show of faith. And collectively, we might not see the immediate benefits, not just for the young players, but the experienced ones. But that this should all continue to help us create that siege mentality that has been lacking at this club and people. He also said, I'm pleased with a lot of things we worked on in training that actually happened in the game and how they brought into this. But obviously I'm disappointed to lose the game. We had to sustain that level for longer periods against a very physical side like Chelsea. We have to move on. And what can he say, people? That's fully facts, man. Like, I just hope we get some investment in January, people. I'm not going to lie to you lot, because I fully believe in Arteta, but how much of a magician can he be if his tricks are not good enough, or his tools that he needs for his tricks are not of the standard? But I've got nothing more to add, so I'm going to get out of here. People, as usual, it's a pleasure. Thank you for always subscribing and supporting my thing and coming back. Thank you. Make sure you comment, subscribe, follow me on all my socials. Links in the description. DG.